You are handing out the keys to your internal fortress every time you speak. You think you are building connections, but you are actually providing a map of your vulnerabilities to people who have not earned the right to see them. Most people are destroyed not by what they experience, but by what they tell without control. You have been trained since childhood to explain yourself, to justify your choices, and to seek a nod of approval from people who are often struggling with their own insignificance. This is not maturity. It is psychological suicide. The world is not a safe harbor. It is a chessboard where information is the only currency that matters. When you reveal your plans, your emotions, or your fears to someone who does not understand your path, you give them power over your destiny without even realizing it. This power does not just touch your feelings. It infects your motivation, your dreams, and the very way the world perceives you. Imagine what you could build if no one knew you were building it. How many critics could stop you if they did not know where to strike? How many comments could demotivate you if there were no targets for their envy? Silent people possess far more power than you can imagine. Whoever masters their tongue eventually masters their destiny. You might feel a desperate need to explain your worth, to justify your success, or to find a refuge in the ears of others. But you must realize that not every ear is a shelter. Some people listen only to interpret, compare, or wait for the perfect moment to use your words against you. Every shared emotion that is poorly delivered does not strengthen a bond. It leaves you exposed. What you share in sincerity today becomes ammunition in the wrong hands tomorrow. You think you are being open, but you are actually stripping yourself naked in front of a crowd that is looking for a reason to judge you. Genuine emotional maturity begins when you realize that telling everything is not honesty. It is imprudence. You have been operating on an outdated system of naive trust. You believe that those closest to you, even your family, are exempt from the dark laws of human nature. But the truth is often more brutal. Sometimes the most dangerous people in your life are those who have heard the most about you. They know exactly where you are weak. They know which string to pull to make you dance. We will not look for peace in the gentle sense. We will look for strategic control. We will dismantle the leash society has placed on your neck and teach you how to become untouchable. It is time to stop being the victim and start being the player who controls the flow of information. A prudent ruler must not only know how to act, but how to hide. Niccolo Machiavelli observed that the one who is transparent is easily conquered. A seed cannot grow if it is not buried deep in the ground. Yet when you have a dream, your first instinct is to shout it to the world. You seek applause before you have earned it. This is a trap. Humans are addicted to recognition more than action. When you state a goal out loud, your brain releases dopamine as if you have already achieved it. You experience the pleasure of the finish line without taking the first step. This is why many people paralyze themselves right after announcing their plans. To sprout, a vision needs time, pressure, and above all, it needs to remain unseen. In that darkness, the seed breaks and takes root. An impatient spirit cannot tolerate this stillness. It wants to dig up the seed every day to show its potential. That is how a dream dies. A root exposed too soon to the light of judgment and envy dries up quickly. Your mission is not to exhibit the seed, but to protect it. Approval is not light. It is fire that burns what is still fragile. Do not waste your inner fire trying to impress others. Revealing dreams too early is a strategic error. People who cannot see your path will project their own fears onto you. They will ask if you are sure or tell you it is too difficult. These voices will eventually live inside you and destroy your conviction. Truly successful people are reserved because they know every misused word drains energy. Real dreams are built in silent nights, and through disciplines without witnesses, work in silence, and let your results be the only thing that speaks. Your silence is the wall that protects your growth from the frost of other people's limitations. My personal lesson to you is this: success that requires an audience to feel real is not success. It is a performance. True power is found in the results that the world cannot ignore, even if they never saw them coming. If you want to protect your worth, you must stop sharing your emotional fragilities with just anyone. We all have days where we break inside or feel on the verge of collapse. It is part of the human condition. But not every ear is a refuge. Some people listen not to understand you, but to interpret and use your words against you later. Every emotion given to the wrong person leaves you exposed. What you shared in sincerity today becomes a weapon in the wrong hands. Instead of comprehension, you receive judgments and comparisons. You might hear them say they knew you could not handle it, and in that moment, your trust becomes their ammunition. Recognizing your pain is brave, but scattering it without measure makes you fragile. Some wounds need silence and time, not a crowd. Choosing who to open your world to is a necessity, not a luxury. A sentimental spill in the wrong place does not look like strength. It looks like weakness. If you open your wounds before the wrong eyes, they will place you in a position inferior to what you deserve. Protecting your emotional world is wisdom. Your heart is a temple, not a microphone. It should not open to any voice or satisfy any curiosity. Temples are protected with silence and sustained with wisdom. Shared correctly. Emotions heal, but shared poorly, they hurt. Your vulnerability is a precious resource. Spend it only on those who have proven they can guard it with their lives. My personal lesson for you is that the world will treat you exactly how you present yourself. If you present yourself as a wounded bird to everyone you meet, do not be surprised when they treat you as something that needs to be managed rather than respected. Talking about your financial situation, especially in unstable times, alters the way others perceive you in a dangerous way. Money is one of the most sensitive topics in human relationships, and most people lack the maturity to handle it. Telling others about your economic difficulties might feel like a relief, but it places you in a position of pity. Pity carries a hidden poison that keeps you down instead of lifting you up. Once people see you through that lens, escaping that frame is nearly impossible, but the opposite extreme is equally risky. Sharing your financial success does not. Sharing your financial success does not inspire others. It triggers them. They do not see your sleepless nights or your sacrifices. They only see the result, which awakens envy and frustration. Sharing your financial information opens the door to emotional control. If you say you are doing poorly, they underestimate you. And if you say you are doing well, they envy you. In both cases, you lose your center. Machiavelli understood that wealth should be used as a tool, never as a point of pride that invites attack. Money is a slave to the wise and a master to the fool. When you brag or complain about money, you allow it to define your identity and how others relate to you. Financial silence is a strategy. Your money is like a seed. If you leave it exposed, the wind carries it and the birds take it away. But if you bury it in silence, only you know where it is, and when it sprouts, no one can tear it out. Real security is protecting what no one else can see. The true meaning of wealth is in your mind, and that mind should not be molded by the words of others. Financial silence is freedom. Your wealth is a private engine. Let its power be felt, but never let its mechanics be inspected by those who would sabotage it. My personal lesson is that true wealth is the ability to say no and disappear. You cannot do that if everyone knows exactly how much you have or how much you owe. Sharing the secrets of another person does not just break their trust. It silently erodes your own character. A secret is not a light topic for conversation. It is an invisible burden delivered to you as an act of honor. When you fail to keep that pact, you betray more than a confidence. You betray someone's faith. In the world, exposing another person's vulnerability is throwing them defenseless before a crowd. Even if you do not mention names, the story belongs to someone, and when they hear it, they break. That simple act marks you as unreliable. People will speak to you less, open up less, and protect themselves more. Loyalty is a promise of honor pronounced in silence. True maturity is knowing when to stay quiet. Protecting someone else's secret is not a favor to them. It is an act of respect toward yourself. Trustworthiness is an invisible armor worn for a lifetime. Once pierced, it can be repaired, but it never regains its original shine. You should not carry stories that do not belong to you. When you transmit them, you turn someone else's pain into gossip. What comes out of your mouth constructs you. The person who guards the secrets of others is strong, while the one who divulges them loses themselves. Virtue consists not only in knowing what is right, but in protecting it. Sometimes, what you must protect is the silence of another person. Honor the trust of others as if it were your own. A vault that cannot be cracked is the only one people will trust with their gold. My personal lesson for you is that the most valuable thing you can own is a reputation for being a vault. In a world of loudmouths, the one who can keep a secret is. You must stop treating your home like a stage and your relationship like a public performance. What happens within the boundaries of a relationship belongs only to that bond, and every external gaze or added comment weakens the intimate fabric that should exist only between two people. Telling others about a disagreement or a moment of weakness might provide temporary relief, but it leaves your fortress exposed and vulnerable. You may resolve the issue and move on, but the person you told will only remember the worst version of that moment. They will not forget as easily as you do. And what was once a private connection becomes a distorted shadow living in the minds of others. When you share your conflicts, you convert a sacred space into a house with the windows wide open. You invite the wind, the dust, and the toxic opinions of those who judge what they do not live. Many of your listeners are not seeking to help you. They are building a silent prejudice against you, or your relationship ceases to be a shared world and becomes a spectacle where everyone wants to add their own interpretation. Intimacy is the backbone. Many believe family is always a safe harbor, but sharing projects with family is often the greatest mistake and danger. They often fear your success. Love wears out when shown in excess, but it deepens when it is guarded in silence. Talk to your partner, not about your partner. Validation from the outside is a sign of instability on the inside. An alliance of two is the strongest structure. Keep your business private, and you will find that the bond becomes unbreakable. True virtue needs no noise because it shines with its own light. The moment you make your virtue public, you contaminate it. The focus is no longer on the beauty of the act, but on your desperate hunger to be recognized. The action ceases to be a virtuous deed and becomes an investment of the ego. Expecting approval for doing the right thing is as absurd as the sun expecting applause for rising every morning. You should do good because it is part of your nature, not to collect social points or prestige labels, like a vine producing grapes or a bee making honey. A person of character does good without looking for a return. When you keep your good deeds to yourself, You build something far more valuable than recognition. You build character. Your silent acts become your hidden treasure, moments that only your conscience can witness. External approval is like the wind, blowing today and disappearing tomorrow, but the serenity that comes from living by your own values is an unbreakable foundation. If you constantly talk about your good actions, you become dependent on a dangerous drug, external validation. If no one notices, your frustration grows, which proves your generosity was conditional and born from approval. Savor the silence of your good deeds and let them remain a secret between you and the universe. True integrity is what you do when you are certain no one will ever find out. You are being consumed by the digital glare. Showing too much on social media weakens your inner strength and hands your true self over to the judgment of others. Every photo is a window into your intimacy, and not everyone looking through that window has good intentions. Some may find inspiration, but many more watch only, to compare, criticize, and compete with you in silence. This constant gaze of others accumulates as an invisible weight upon your soul. When you feel the world is watching, you stop experiencing your life and start merely documenting it. You have fallen into the trap of visibility, believing that appearing is the same as existing. You stop enjoying the moment. Because you are too busy registering it, your smile is no longer born from joy, but from the need to look good in an image. Real happiness is replaced by an aesthetic happiness, and the actual experience is sacrificed for the exhibition. Your brain becomes addicted to the immediate dopamine of notifications, and you lose the ability to find peace in their absence. This is not connection. It is an addiction to being seen. Genuine freedom is not found in showing everything, but in the wisdom of knowing what to keep hidden. Some joys only grow in silence, and some achievements only take root far from the public eye. You must build an interior wall that allows light to enter, but prevents the wind from sweeping away what is inside. Deep happiness does not need an audience. It strengthens in quietness. The wise do not hide from the world, but they do not expose themselves without measure. Treat your digital presence like your home. Be selective about who you let in. The digital world is full of people who consume without consideration, and their opinions should leave no marks on your spirit. Living the moment is infinitely more valuable than showing it. My personal lesson is clear. If your life is more interesting on a screen than it is in reality, you are not living. You are acting. The most powerful moments of your existence are the ones that no one will ever see on a feed. You must now install a new operating system in your mind. The old one was built on the desperate need to be understood, but the new one is built on the cold necessity to be effective. Strategic silence is not about hiding who you are. It is about controlling what others are allowed to believe about you. You must build an inner. The wall functions as a high-security filter. Only information that serves your strategic goals should be allowed to cross it. Every time you feel the urge to explain your life, ask yourself if this explanation adds to your power or subtracts from it. In almost every case, it subtracts. You must realize that most people do not want to see you succeed beyond their reach. They want to see you struggle at their level so they can feel better about their own mediocrity. This is the reality of human nature. People will forgive you for a mistake, but they will rarely forgive you for being better than them. Even those you consider your inner circle can become anchors that keep you from sailing to new horizons because they are comfortable with a version of you that is small and predictable. True dominance is achieved when you become a strategic void. When people do not know what you are thinking, they cannot anticipate your next move. When they do not know your weaknesses, they cannot strike you. When they do not know your strengths, they cannot prepare for your arrival. The price of this power is a certain level of isolation. You must be willing to be the only person who knows the full truth of your journey. You must find validation within your own results, rather than in the eyes of others. This is the discipline of the silent sovereign. Real discipline begins exactly at the moment you learn to master your own tongue. It is the ability to hold a secret like a weapon, knowing exactly when to keep it holstered. While the crowd is shouting their intentions from the rooftops, you are moving in the quiet dark, placing the bricks of your empire one by one without a single witness. The transformation from a pawn to a player happens in the quiet moments of decision. You no longer need to broadcast your worth, because your results will eventually become an undeniable force that speaks for itself. You are no longer a target for their envy or a subject for their gossip. You are an enigma. You are an untouchable force moving toward a light that only you can see. If you are ready to reclaim your power, let your first act be a silent commitment to yourself. Confirm your transformation by leaving a mark. Write in the comments below, "My vision is my secret."